Time is now 1800 and I'll call our regularly scheduled McMinnville Fire District Board meeting to order. We'll call on Chief Godfrey for roll call.
President Garvin,
Here.
Vice President Smith,
Here.
Secretary Pratt,
Here.
Treasurer Trapp. I see you. Here. Director Sparrow,
Here.
all present.
All right, thank you for that. And I'll call on Secretary Pratt to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Secretary Pratt. Next up is financials, right?
No changes to the agenda. We do have the regular meeting. Eight.
All right, so consent agenda, we have regular meeting minutes from our 6/27 meeting. If no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda or the minutes as proposed. So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Vice President Smith and a second by Secretary Pratt. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda passes unanimously 5-0. Next up, we have financial report fiscal year 24 P&L.
So in your packet is an example of what we plan on providing you now on a monthly basis, now that we're under the full district financials. Take a look at this over the next couple weeks, 2 weeks. See if it meets your desires, and if there's anything else that you would like added, and or if there's information you don't need. This is really just a large overview. It's not an individual divisional aspect, if you will, but it's an overall look at both our expenditures as well as our revenues. So we'll provide this now monthly. And again, we can add and or change really anything to a lesser amount or a greater amount of detail at your wishes.
Thank you for that, Chief. Entertain any conversation or questions or direction for Chief on that? Hearing none, I'll move to item B, which is district credit cards.
We have applied to First Federal. We have entered into a partnership with them. I think we talked about this early on due to the fact that we're a new fire district with quote unquote without credit history. It makes it difficult to get credit cards. We, after our last cooperation with First Federal for our loans, First Federal has agreed to assume the liability of the credit card. So we applied for credit cards like you normally would. Credit cards from the company would be denied with credit history, and First Federal will assume that. So great partnership with First Federal. With that, we're still in that process. We've applied. We're waiting to hear back, but we've had great meetings with their executive staff, and it'll be a great path forward for financial goals and kind of trying to consolidate purchasing processes and securities and such. So that should go soon. You have one addition to that came in today. We did receive for the audit.
Oh,
Acuity.
No, it's acuity.
We received our request from Acuity, who you utilized last year for your audit. We have entered into an agreement with them to do our audit again this year. That audit will start September 19th and run through December 31st. The total cost is $16,500. We did go with them this year again. They kind of have our history, and so we thought, rather than kind of try and continue with that process. And I did ask around. We didn't hear anything to the negative, so we're going to continue with that. So our audit will start September 19th and run as late as December.
Thank you for that. Any questions around the audit? Status quo. All right, hearing none, I'll take us to public comment. This is the part of the meeting for any citizens to speak for up to 3 minutes, anything regarding district business. Did we receive any comment cards? Anybody in the audience wish to speak? Anybody on Zoom wish to speak? Raise your hand and you'll be unmuted. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move to our action items tonight. First up, we have item A, approved purchase of 2 new Pierce fire engines in the total of $1,036,502. I'll call on Chief to brief us on that.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just to give you a little bit of history, with our aging engine fleet specifically, I'll back up. With our aging ambulance fleet, we've made great strides over the last year, receiving an ambulance in the April-ish timeframe, that ambulance service. Thank you to the board, we have purchased 2 additional ambulances. One of them will be here early next week. The other one was completed. I just got a report today, has been completed and will be shipped up to Seattle and to Springfield in the next couple of weeks. Our next goal and task was our fire engines. Our fire engines are a very aged fleet. They are costing significant amount of monies to maintain. And at one point last week, we were 1 failure away from having to go to the ladder truck as our only engine. We had 2 engines down, and we were in our only reserve engine, which didn't leave an engine for the volunteers. As you all know, we had one of them with an electrical fire a month and a half ago. They're needing to be replaced. We've reached out both at conferences as well as to other vendors to look at what's available. Unfortunately, most, if not all vendors are 3 to 3.5 years out. Engines of our style that we currently run on engine 1 are ranging about 1.1 million, between 1 and 1.1 million for a puck style, and just in the upper 900,000s for a regular midship fire engine. We have brought 1 engine in, and we were able to get 1 engine in from a vendor for a demo 3-4 weeks ago. We did look at that, and we've just been keeping our options open. We, as you all know, we're close to purchasing a used fire engine, and that's really the state in which we need to replace fire engines, and we need to, quite frankly, replace them now. We budgeted $900,000 specific to a fire engine. We have $117,000 in our vehicle reserve fund. As I met at the other option that we had, which I discussed with the board, was really the lottery option. That was Pierce releases some vehicles on a monthly basis, the first day of the month, every month at 10 a.m. And it's first come, first serve. Last month it was an electric fire engine, I believe it was a type 3. Next month could be 5 type 1s or 5 type 6s. There's just no ends at the butts, and you're going to be lucky if you get it. As a fire chief, I can't continue to have the crews not having reliable apparatus. They're out there working hard, they're out there running a lot of calls, and they're not getting reliable fire apparatus. So as I was discussing with Pierce their lottery option, he did show me their current in-stock list of apparatus, in which the 2 apparatus in front of you met our specifications from an engine standpoint to the best of our ability for the demo unit. There are things that we would prefer to have on engines if we were able to spec an engine. But 3.5 years out is just not obtainable. So in speaking with all the officers, with crews, you know, we understand that we need to move forward and we're not going to get everything that we want. The difference in these two vehicles proposed, they're about half the cost, just above half the cost. But they are a commercial chassis versus a custom chassis. They're the Freightliner, much like our engine 16 sold. There's advantages to that. Brad, I'm sure, will be very happy to work on a commercial chassis that you can get parts locally for. But you know, it's a different style. It's not what we're used to really running here. But I do believe, and with support with the majority, and I would say the large majority of staff, I think it's my proposal that we move forward with purchasing the two apparatus in front of you. I've heard questions of why two. There's two reasons. One, all three of our rigs are aged out, or all three of our rigs are having significant mechanical problems. And also this allows us twofold. One, the career engine that's staffed, in the event that they needed to go to a reserve, it would be a like for like set of vehicle, lessening the amount of switch over time that it takes and familiarity for driving purposes. But also second, it also allows the volunteers to receive the almost exact same fire engine as engine one. So kind of, you know, killing two birds with one stone if you can. So again, if this was if I had all the money in the world, and I had all the time in the world, I would pick a 3.5-year custom chassis at $1.1 million. Unfortunately, in our budget, as well as our state of need, we don't have that time and we don't have that money. So it is my recommendation that the board review and approve the two apparatus in front of you. And I'm happy to answer any. Sorry, one other thing. One of them will be available within the next week. That means available in Springfield. We have to go down and do our inspection. That one of them is about 2 to 2.5, 3 weeks behind. So within the next month, we would have. So, and with that, I'll open up any questions.
All right, I'll open it up on Zoom first. Director Sparrow or Treasurer Trapp, do you have any questions around the apparatus proposed?
Chief, do you see any drawbacks with going with these vehicles? I mean, what are you concerned about doing this rather than spending the time and money on something custom?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. My biggest concern is familiarity. You know, our crews are predominantly used to running the custom cab chassis, if you will. So there'll be a little bit of a learning curve. I have talked to the majority, not all, but the majority of staff. I don't think that's insurmountable, number one. Number two, it's not that we've never had a chassis like this before. But that's my biggest concern. We just need to make sure that we train on it, that we get them through phone courses, that they're comfortable with it. That's my biggest concern. From the cab back, it's the exact same pump, same tank, same phone system, same compartment, same box, same everything. It's the chassis forward. So that's my biggest concern, is just familiarity. It's not, I don't want to say it's not a common. For McMinnville, it's not a common look, so it's a change. Change is not always easy, but I'm very proud to say that both from the volunteer side, in which we have spoken to, as well as the career side, again, I'm not going to speak for every single person, but I will speak for every single person I talked to, and I know Chief Law talked to. We did not get any negative feedback of don't do it. Yes, there is feedback of wish we had this, wish we had that, absolutely. All of them that I spoke to, and I know Chief Law spoke to, supported the decision and supported the path forward. So again, Director Sparrow, you know, I would love to wait 3.5 years, and I would love to have an extra 1.1 per. I don't, and I think this is a very fiscally responsible and operationally responsible path.
Great, thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Vice President Smith?
Question I have is just related to the cost of getting it fully outfitted. Got that money set aside for that? You have an estimate of the cost?
We do. So the majority of the, not the majority. 98% of the equipment and such will come from 2 vehicles that will be taken out of service. We did budget this year, as you know, for mobile radios, so those will all be replaced, which we budgeted for already. Chief Hannafin and 2 of the VCs and myself have already met on the MDC side of things. We will likely be switching to a different MDC style, an iPad style, utilizing different platform, same CAD, but different platform that we will be able to purchase. Estimated cost, you're probably 10,000 per vehicle in cost, all of which we do have in our budget for outfits and or outfits, because we're going to replace a lot of stuff anyways. In our SCBAs, for example, a lot of it's needed to be replaced anyways. So the one cost that I believe that listening to the crews that they like incurred is it has a 3-seat, remove the middle seat and build a shelf. That would be an additional cost that we didn't budget for.
Thank you. Treasurer Trap, any questions on Zoom?
Yeah, I'm curious what kind of the expected life expectancy of these engines are going to be, if we're kind of going away from maybe what we would like to have for what we need now, sort of thing. And obviously, being in a new district, we're unable to budget years ahead for what we really want or need. But how long is this going to be a part of the fleet, do you see?
I think it'll be a part of the fleet for 15 years. The fire apparatus are built as 15-year apparatus. With that said, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't be in a reserve status in, say, 5 years. For example, if we chose to go down a custom path or back to a custom path. I think it's very viable that they'll last that 13 to 15 years, which is completely normal. And especially if we put them into a reserve capacity, if we went back to a custom chassis, which I'm absolutely not against. It's specifically, we have a lot of things to do in this organization that cost a lot of money. And I have to, when I look at it from a budget perspective, I have to do as much as I can with what's in front of me. And I think this is a good fiscal way to move forward. And then set us up for the future of potentially switching those apparatus out to custom chassis if that's what we so chose. With that said, we have fire engines, fire stations, ambulances, staff vehicles, squads, tenders, brush rigs that all also need to be replaced. So we have to keep all that into perspective.
We have covered it already in previous discussions, but we'll make it all fit. We're getting rid of some apparatus, make it all fit.
We are sitting very good right now. We have gotten rid of vehicles. We have not replaced vehicles. We have sold vehicles. This purchase would come with the selling of 2 additional vehicles. We would likely sell engine 14 and 15. And I say that because engine 1, as you know, we refinanced in June. So that'd be the one that we would keep as a reserve or backup. So yes, we are.
We have the fleet down there that really need, that's going to make fit.
Make fit what we can afford, what we can technically maintain, and then what we can actually staff.
Question, Secretary Pratt?
I was just wondering what the difference is from what we're used to and what this thing is. Is it still a cab over, or is it nose out in front of it?
Yep, and the motor's out front. It's a Freightliner chassis, just like a Freightliner ambulance, like the old engine 16 that we just sold. So wish to them.
Like Yamhill's fire engine.
Amity just bought this exact engine. I believe they might even be taking delivery of it early next week. Almost the exact same engine as the engine one.
There is a midship pump.
Midship pump. Everything from the back of the cab back is exactly like a piston pumper. It's just the motor in the cab is it's not custom.
And what, spending all of our apparatus cash on these two pieces of apparatus, where does that put us for putting an order in for a custom cab, or when do we make that determination of when we should put an order in, knowing they're 3.5 years out?
It would not be my recommendation to move forward buying any other fire engines for several years. We have so many other things to purchase, to get our fleet up, fire stations, staffing, all those type of things. If we went down this path would be the path we would go down 4 or 5-ish years. If I was to buy anything else, to be honest with you, my recommendation would be things like water tenders, things like that need to be replaced, because of their age and or their abilities. So, again, it doesn't mean that in 5 years, when I hit the lottery and I donate all the money to the district, that we wouldn't go towards something like that, and I'm absolutely open for that. But again, there's one other thing too, but at the $1 million mark, that's an expensive feat. And I personally believe that we can get 2 of these in service, that will really set us into a place where we can continue to move forward, whether it be staffing, whether it be additional stations, whether it be ambulance replacements and or tenders or other types of things, staffing being one of them, that I think that would be the path to go. There is one other thing that is very important. In 2025, there will be new emissions, new requirements by the NFPA on the apparatus, mostly in the electrical department, that is going to significantly increase the costs of the engine. So your $1.1 million puck, I have no idea what it'll cost, but you know it's not going to be. When we bought engine one, it was 500 some thousand. So and it's already at 1.1 million for the exact same rig 10 years later. So that's another reason to get ahead of that, because those costs are only going to increase. Again, another reason why to buy 2 versus 1. Because now we can afford it now. To your point, though, is expending all of the apparatus funds. The 900,000 was specific for a fire engine. The 117 isn't an apparatus fund, admittedly, but just to put it in perspective, this year to date, we're approximately, or we will be approximately at $40,000 worth of reimbursement for our conflagration response. That will also go back into help replenish or begin to replenish the apparatus replacement. So that's an estimated number, don't get me wrong, but it's close to what we've done already. And I'll talk about conflagrations here in a minute, but also when we're getting back the incident management person and the task force that we have.
And then, I already know the answer to the question, because I already asked you, but more for the community. You mentioned that there is a slight difference between the two, one has a phone system, one doesn't. Does that give us any lack of operational efficiency with one not being phone? Do we use phone that often? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that having phone available is important. And I would, the second one is plumbed for foam, it just doesn't physically have the phone. So it would be just the addition pump. It has the foam tank, it's plumbed for the foam, it would just be the addition added. And that's really the main difference between your 504 and your 530. It's not the only difference, but it's
This is an inductor system in this still use pump.
yes, you can still use foam with an inductor, that's accurate. Yep.
My question too, and so 2 new engines at the same time, a plan to balance the wear and tear.
Yes, so we've already discussed that internally, as well as with the mechanic. We currently use Fleet Chaser program, as well as our Pacific Pride, tracks our mileage as well as our checks, obviously. But yes, it would be our intention, once we get them set up completely the same, to be able to do, whether it's on an annual basis or a mileage driven basis, to keep those vehicles rotated so that they would last probably even longer than 15 years, but likely in a lesser status, not. That does extend our time past the likely expectancy of a single engine.
Good, thanks.
And I guess the only other devil's advocate question, is there any advantage to buying one and then waiting a year or two and buying a custom chassis for a second?
The advantage is cost. Right now, it's like for like, which is a huge advantage, because again, in that transition that you're talking about, swapping, keep mileage down. They're gonna be like for like, number one. Number two, the cost is where we need it to be today. And as I stated in 2025, there'll be changes, which is normal. So they won't be necessarily like for like or exactly the same. But also the cost is gonna be significant. So even a year or 2 years, the 531s, I don't remember, but it's gonna be 631. You know, so the advantage is now we get to remove 2 vehicles that are end of life already. In fact, one of them is still not in service because we did the DOT testing on it, but we still have several things to fix, which we'll be able to do once we get an in-house mechanic. But we'll be able to get rid of those, stop that cost. The other advantage, to your point, we spend a very large amount of money on emergency repair, not even fleet maintenance, but preventative maintenance, but actual emergency repairs. Obviously, with a new fleet, the majority of the stuff will be under warranty, and theoretically speaking, shouldn't be breaking. So that will help us through those years too, from a cost perspective.
Other devil's advocate question would be horsepower of the motor. Is that something that can get around our district, especially our rural areas and like Peavine, Powerhouse, and all those areas?
I'm not gonna tell you I've driven it up any of those roads, but I will tell you it is the most common commercial motor put in those vehicles. And those vehicles, as you know, are multiple things from dump trucks to fire engines to such. So yes, I'm confident in the power. That's one of the questions I asked. Can you get a higher powered motor? The answer to that question is yes, you can. And obviously, more power is always, or I should say always, but is an advantage. But I'm confident that we're backwards.
Thank you for that. Open it up for any other questions from the board? Anything else from staff?
I do have, if anybody can find me, we don't have some pictures just to look. Sheets. This is the ambulance vehicle that's currently in the final right now, just to put it in perspective.
It's not yellow.
It is not yellow, and Chief Yoakland has issues to deal with when he shows up. That's his district.
Are we getting red ones?
They are ours are red.
Good.
Did I almost screw this whole thing up? Is that what you're saying? So.
That we thought it looked like?
It's actually better than I thought it looked like. Not bad.
Hey, I'm gonna have to say this in public. Portland has one, just so you know.
Okay.
I saw it on the news the other night. Brand new, it's on configuration, I don't know what it is.
Thank you for all the detailed information. That was great.
And to be clear, I don't want to make any mistakes. This is Amy's engine, this is not. But ours is almost, engine one's is almost exactly.
Any other questions for staff? Do we have a motion for us?
There's not much.
Oh, I have one other question. In the bid, it offers a $10,000 discount per engine if they're picked up somewhere not Eugene. Is there any value to that, or is there more cons to that than just juices it's not worth the squeeze?
The problem with it is we did give up some of that money for, that normally we give 2 visits to the factory and give up some of that money to get the prices down. The issue when you pick up fire engines is the state of Oregon exempts firefighters from being required to have their CDL, but other states do not. So if we tried to drive it back here, we could get pinched in another state for not having our CDL. So it's not as common as it used to be to drive it. We also would retain liability once we picked it up, whereas when it's delivered to Springfield, it's on their liability until we go get it.
Okay. Thank you for that. Hearing no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of 2 new Pierce fire engines as presented in your packet. First one being Freightliner pumper, stock number 39293, KR240. And the second one being the Freightliner pumper, stock number 39285, KR239.
So moved.
We have a motion by Vice President Smith, and I would entertain a second.
Second.
A second by Director Sparrow. Thank you, gentlemen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Motion passes 5-0. Is that a good enough motion? And then, next thing we have item B, which is board policy 3. I'll refer you to your packet on that and, call on Chief or Michelle, whoever wants to brief us on that, but essentially our board positions are only 1-year terms. And if anybody wants to, not have their position, now would be the time to voice that, or if anybody would like a position they don't have, now would be the time to voice that. I kind of want to just be an open forum, but if Chief or Michelle would like to expand on anything of this.
No, that you hit it nail on the head. We just want to bring it to your attention. The board policy 3 stated that. We want to leave it up to you for discussion, but for us to.
Sounds good. So I'd open it up to any discussion. Me personally, I think we're still a new district and there's some value in continuity, but if anybody's burnout or has capacity or, just needs a change, I'm definitely want to make sure that everybody's in seats that they are passionate about and are happy to be in.
I'm happy and appreciate the team that we have. But you mentioned, Secretary, that's a burning desire.
Treasurer Traft or Director Sparrow, do you have any thoughts on our current positions?
No, I'm happy with how things have been going. I feel like that first year is just getting our legs under us, so I'm happy with where we're at.
And Director Sparrow?
Yep, just picking up steam, so I don't think we should change it.
All right, Michelle, do we need to vote on these positions one by one, or can we just do like a full slate?
You can do a full slate.
Full slate?
Yep.
So I would entertain a motion to approve our board positions as they currently are, with Raymond Pratt as secretary, Joshua Trapp as treasurer, Brian Smith as vice president, and Adam Garvin as president for the fiscal year 24-25.
I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Secretary Pratt. I have a motion by Secretary Pratt
I'll second it.
and a second by Vice President Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you for that. And now it takes us to other business, board committee and liaison reports. First up, we have LoSAP. Calling Treasurer Trapp.
Yeah, I've got nothing new to report on LoSAP.
All right. Thank you. And item 2 is branding. Director Swear, you have anything new on that?
I would defer to Chief Darby on this. He's been heavily involved in all the things that are going on with the branding committee.
All right, Chief Darby.
Just brief update, Randy, we've met a couple times in the last 6 weeks, made some good progress. One of the things that we, after a lot of discussion, a lot of passion, we've decided to go with the MFD logo for apparatus marking. So currently all of our heavy assets have the City of McMinnville Fire Department gold leaf logos. We're going to replace door logos with our new seal that we worked on. Right now, at this point, we are going to have the box on the ambulances. They're going to go ahead and have district replace fire department, fire district. We probably right away aren't going to be putting the door logos on the ambulances because traditionally we haven't done that. But once we get heavy assets and some of the staff cars relabeled, then we'll look at that again. So I want to thank Todd and Janet, part of the team, and our 2 board members. A lot of folks really put a lot of input in that. So moving forward with that, we also recently placed an order for replacement monument signs at both Station 1 here on both corners, as well as Station 12. Those should be, we've got the bid and the order's been placed, so those should be coming shortly as well. And we just finalized a new flag for the district too. So we will have a new McMinnville Fire District flag. We'll hopefully be here in a couple weeks. And we got our new backdrop.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
for that update.
moving forward, just so everyone is aware, I mean, branding is all encompassing. So a couple of the items that we are going to look at down the road, we want to be budget conscious with this project. So looking at potentially new badges and also helmet shields too, but those will be further down the pipeline.
And any update on the challenge coin?
We do have one of our staff members currently working on that. We're going to do a combination of a challenge coin, a years of service coin, and a special fire chief's coin. I don't have any current updates on that, but that is also in progress.
Thank you. And budgetarily, everything's operating?
Yeah, so far so good. One of the things as you guys probably noticed, we did remove McMinnville Fire Department from the apron wall here. We're not going to jump back in and replace that just yet. I kind of want to see where all the budgetary constraints land before we look at that. Currently, we left MFD over the doors because it still fits. So down the road, we are going to revisit that. I kind of want to see how this fiscal year pans out with all these other projects. So I'll keep you guys in the loop.
We're about 1/3 expended, and the expenditures today are the larger of the expenditures.
On the ambulance, you talked about district versus department. Those are 2 totally different lengths of words.
So the gentleman, we are working with a sign company in town, and we have a final meeting on Tuesday to kind of go over everything. He's very aware that we have different lettering and different fonts and different sizes, and he's told me he's capable of managing all that. One of his concerns is some of the older units. It's a little harder when we start removing decals off older units. The new ones we shouldn't have many issues with, but he said he's completely capable of color matching and making all that work. So we'll see.
Okay, that would be my personal concern is final ages.
Yes.
And so McMinnville will look faded, district will be bright.
Yes. So one of my, same with me too, so there was some initial discussion about just taking district, but on the older units where there's gonna be issues with fading, we're just replaced the whole McMinnville fire district in one. Not one piece, but
Yeah.
one, you know, so it doesn't have a different brighter color.
Yep.
We recently went through this too with the new ambulances too, I think there's a picture,
Yeah, it's on the back.
so. Same font as the remount and the new ambulance, we basically just literally flip-flopped white, red. And same, the chevrons, yellow and red. The only difference being Medic 15, which is white, when we actually took possession of it, we went with white and red, but we decided it'd be more appropriate to match the rear chevrons to the remount and the new one. So these will also have red and yellow chevrons to, you know, make it match the two newer units.
Sounds good. Any other questions for Chief Darby around branding? Hearing none, we'll move on to board information reports. Anything for board information reports?
I stopped by and visited Brad Stern here at the station. Of course, he was all crawling inside a burst out engine, doing some repairs, but it was nice to see him. And I'm super excited and happy that we're able to bring.
Anything else for board information reports? Before our next meeting, I'm working with Michelle on draft review for chief, and been a little slower because of my own schedule, but that will be coming up before our next meeting, so if you guys could, when you get that, make sure you respond to it. That would be greatly appreciated. And that's just the review that was called out in this contract when we hired chief, so. Nothing special there, but I've personally been very happy with chief's performance. That takes us to information only items, and first up is department reports with local 3099 first.
Thank you for your time. I just have two things to report on today. The firefighters dance. If anybody's curious, we're calling it a success, but it was pretty much a break-even event. We did have a great turnout. We did have good food, good music, good drinks, and a lot of effort went into that. So special thanks to Chelsea Nichols, Ryan Zollinger, Pete Goodman, the Volunteer Association, and the union all got together and really had a lot of help and a lot of effort. The plan is to do that again, probably make some tweaks into what we did this year for future years, but I think overall the event we'll call a success. Although as far as money making, I don't call it a money maker. The other thing is we will have our second annual softball tournament to raise money for MDA. That will be September 8th of this year. Those flyers have already started kind of going out. And we are expecting actually quite a bit bigger turnout this year than we had last year. We've already had teams that weren't part of last year's event reaching out and wanting to come. So if anybody wants to play some softball September 8th and raise money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, we'll be having that event again. Questions?
Any questions for President Godfrey? Thank you. Next up, we have President Goodman with the Volunteer Association.
Good evening. So the firefighters dance, that was, I thought a good success too. I think we did give them a hold of a bit, so next year will be better. Volunteers have also donated some other things this since I was here last. We've 3 scholarships we awarded this year. 2 went to a couple of high school kids. They're going to Jamaica Community College for their paramedic. And then 1 gal, she is continuing her college for nursing. Gave her the 3rd one. We also gave out 5 $2,000 donations to some various organizations in town. And we were busy with some high school events, or no, grade school events with their. They have like a spring fair every year for the kids, and we take an engine. And Fire and Life Safety also participates in that. And other than that, we have a few things coming up this summer. Fair, National Night Out, and the 150th anniversary for the district. August 25th.
In your show.
And their show.
This month.
Gene, how much, for the value of the scholarships are ended up?
They're $1,500 a piece.
Thank you, and fantastic.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, volunteers.
Thank you.
Takes us to item 3 with the 9-item fire chief report.
Yeah. So there's advantages to doing once a month meetings. You get you the schedule earlier, but there's disadvantages too, because it gives 2 weeks to get more stuff than you probably want to know about. So President Garvey, with your permission, I have a couple more.
Sounds good.
VC3 and Ziply update. Ziply is in. We are live with our own fiber internet and station. That internet is being monitored right now by Ziply, which is a very large step in our transit to VC3. We meet on a weekly basis. We're at the technical level now, and what I mean by that is how and when are we going to do the switch out? The pieces are in place. It's more of how do we wipe computers and make them VC3 computers. So I have personally given them a drop dead date of September 1st. I believe we'll transition before that. And I'd like it to transition before that. We've just got to work out some technical details, and I think we're going down that path. So I hope that transition takes place very soon. Questions on that?
Will we need to hand over our laptops to be wiped converted?
Likely.
That's. Thank you.
AP Triton update. We have started the discovery process with AP Triton. Staff has all has multiple assignments. They're working very hard on a June 30th deadline to provide the documents that they are requesting. Some are easier than others, some are very time consuming, and some involve outside partners. And in some cases, those partners are busy, so we're trying to work through what that looks like, making sure that AP Triton gets the information that they need. I did get a contract the other day from AP Triton for standard of cover. If you all remember, we went with the $93,000 package, if you will, the business management plans and those type of things. It was my understanding and intention that the standard of cover was part of that. They don't. So we got a $25,000 contract for specifically just the standard. So I'm doing some discovery with them on that right now. I'll report out at the next meeting. But the reality is we have a ton of work. We have 4 documents that they'll be providing us. And I'll report back out on that discovery, if you will. To Vice President Smith's point, we did give a conditional job offer to Brad Stern. He is currently in all the prerequisite stuff that has to be completed. His tentative start date at this time is August 9th. And we very much look forward to having him as part of the fire district. He's going to bring a lot of experience, hard work ethic, and I think really will help us manage our internal costs from fleet maintenance, from emergency repairs, hopefully to more of a preventative maintenance style repair. To put that in perspective, just last week I had 5 vehicles out of service with major repairs. not a flat tire, major repairs. We have a $10,000 DPF replacement on brush 11. Engine 15 is still out of service with marker lights, ladder rack cylinders, light bar repairs, brake adjustments. Truck 1 with AC repair, transmission. Tender 1 with AC, engine 1 with codes, oil changes, chassis lubes, transmission, steering differentials. Engine 14, foam pumps, quad 1 lights, DC 1 thermostats, FM1 sirens. The point is, I could read all of these, but I want to bring it into perspective. I didn't bring this up first because I didn't want all to think that the reason I proposed the engines and tried to kind of, force it, if you will. But the reality is that I have a sheet here. These are just as of a couple of days ago. We have more that have come into service, so please don't get me wrong, but we've had others that have gone out of service. And so these are the things that we manage, and they're very costly repairs. So the addition of new ambulances, the addition of fire engines that the board has all supported, as well as the board and the budget committee support of adding a full-time mechanic, I really think will help the McMinnville Fire District manage their equipment, as well as their funds.
I think we could see how new apparatus really help the fleet, now save money down the road on all kinds of maintenance and repair costs. Make it all more efficient. Makes sense, absolutely.
Confirmation update, Chief Law's online. If any of you have any questions for him, they are on their way back. Probably gonna key and say we're back, because last I heard they were in Portland. Chris Mayfield, who is on the Reddit management team, is at least at this time, times out, tomorrow. So he should be back. We should have all Yamhill County resources back theoretically by tomorrow. We have either both task forces back, or the second one is within miles, I assume.
2 weeks.
I believe Scott, well, he would have timed out on Monday, so 11 days-ish. Chris Mayfield, 14 days, so we're gonna have tomorrow.
And what's the reset time? Like, what's the?
24 hours.
Oh,
So,
okay.
turn burger. But I've heard I've heard a ton of good feedback. We do have a career employee, an IFF employee, as well as a staff chief on brush 1. So I've heard a lot of great things about both task forces, and they've worked very hard the last 2+ weeks. So this is very early. Our average configuration response time is August 22nd. We deployed our first one, I believe it was in June. So it's gonna be a long summer, but we're working hard. So thank you for your support.
And everything currently is on that side of the Cascades. Firewalls.
That is accurate. Yes. We talked about the 2 new medic units. Just wanted to pop it up in case somebody had questions. One of them will be in Springfield on Tuesday, I believe it is, Tuesday or Wednesday. The second one is completed. This is a picture of the first one. I did get pictures yesterday of the second one, and it's also completed. So it's really just drive time and delivery time to the Springfield that are final, and then to the district to put in radios, MDCs, transition equipment. We do have an ambulance with a catastrophic transmission issue that I've chosen not to fix. That one of these ambulances will replace. So very costly repair that we'll be able to, due to the board support, not have to.
And is there any value in keeping that ambulance around for parts rig? Does it have a light chassis, like motor, and other HVAC apparatus?
Yes, we will have 2 reserves still. So it does not, it has light for the ones I'm getting rid of, but here in not very long, it wouldn't have a value for parts. The 2 spares of each.
Base color white.
For the 2 making base colors.
Right.
Back in the 94, 95. Not to age yourself. Right. You brought it New radio system, we had our second countywide radio system meeting, day before yesterday. The intent at this time is to move forward with an RFI, request for information, to the vendors to provide the county with what do we need, what will work, and how much will it cost. At that point, we will look at those proposals, likely, in my opinion, pick a couple of those proposals to move forward in RFP. And then, of course, the county and all have to come up with a funding source to fund that. But before we can kind of figure that out, and we got to kind of know where we're at. We are looking at partnerships as well as standalone systems. There's pros and cons to both of them. But the replacement of the radio system is an absolute must. From two things: a coverage and a safety and security issue, but we're also well past it. Station security update: we have added cameras to the fire station, as well as you all know, at least you should know. We switched the keypad access system. It's all digital now. It's all monitored. It's all in the cloud. The first night that we had the cameras, we did catch an individual break into firefighter's vehicle. They were subsequently operated by PD and charged. So 12 hours later, it paid itself. It also gives staff the ability to remotely open the doors. Staff has to be away from the desks and such. Several weeks ago, we did complete the single role MOA with Local 3099, collaborative effort between Michelle and Hannafin, as well as President Godfrey and his staff. So we currently are operating under that MOA, and that MOA will go away when the new contract is agreed upon. In that note, we are currently in contract negotiations with Local 3099. We had our first meeting, and we have at this time we have two additional meetings set up to work collaboratively to come up with for the next fiscal years. We entered into an agreement with Life Assist, which is it's our major medical provider. It is on a government bid program. We have entered into that agreement. They are the largest, our largest vendor at this time already. But there are several things that we don't buy from them due to cost. But they are going to match those costs or beat those costs of the others, small things that we purchase from other vendors. So the advantages to that are twofold. One, it's on government discount. But two, it'll allow us to track, and again, number one, our expenditures, as well as number two, the types of equipment we use from a perspective of, are we buying the right amount of equipment per year or less or more? Right now, because staff works extremely hard with 3 computer screens to try and find the cheapest price of everything, we buy everything, or in some cases we buy things, from multiple vendors. It's very difficult to track the what's and how much is, because the bills are. So just another effort to bring our funding in. I just wanted to give a shout out tonight to the Sheridan Fire District. They heard through the grapevine that we were down both our brush rigs. And unsolicited, the fire chief called me and said, "Hey, I have 4 Type 6s, and you guys are more than welcome to one of them." Captain Cummins from Sheridan Fire District, I believe Chief Hannafin went and got it with another staff. Captain Cummins came the next day, ran everybody through. Shout out to them. And then just a couple more things. Had a major legal spill yesterday we're estimating approximately 10,000 gallons, north at that you would know as Wilco with the Circle K there in Pack Bragg. We worked hand in hand with our both state and federal partners, from the EPA, and the DEQ, as well as our partners with Backwater and Light, the city of McMinnville Public Works, to mitigate the situation and then, turn it over to them for remediation. It was a long afternoon and evening, but I think the collaboration worked well. You guys, Chief Law has received multiple, we did put out our cadet program that we've talked about many times. He has received multiple inquiries already. So I see that as going to be a very successful program with the inquiries that he's received, just since we put it out via Facebook and the website. So more to follow on that. Before I turn it over to Chief Darby again for fire prevention update, I just want to let you all know, tomorrow morning to Monday, I will be out of town. Chief Hannafin will be the acting fire chief. I have limited service where I'll be at. Feel free to call if you need something that it's specific to me. Chief Hannafin has my authority, so if you have anything that you need done, Chief Hannafin will take care of it. I'm gonna turn over to Chief Darby real quick for fire prevention.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to give the board a brief update. We're about mid-year now with fire and life safety inspections. So far, as of July 16th, we've conducted 346 initial scheduled fire and life safety inspections, which have been followed by about 105 re-inspections. So far where we're at, we've done most of our assembly occupancies that are within our database. We've done the majority of 3rd Street, we've done all public and private schools with the exception of Linfield, which will be done here in about 3 weeks. And then all of our licensed facilities, which we generally do in January, February. So new construction wise, we got a lot going on. Building department's been very active. We've been helping them out with the transitional light facility on Adams and Lee. I think they're going to be pushing for they're going to be pushing for temporary certificate of occupancy very soon. If you haven't seen the northern apartments from 18, you can see them if you drive by. They've been going vertical. They're all wood frame right now. We've done our underground, some rough sprinklers, so they're very busy. And then we've been working closely with Empower. They're doing a very large addition. And then we still do have a couple proposed apartment multifamily projects in the Stratus area. So one of them being Stratus Village, and then we've had some initial conversations with another developer who's looking to build near Stratus, both for low income multifamily. And then just as you guys are aware, we did receive our fire safety house as a gift from a neighboring fire agency. We've since had it re-logoed with our new district badging, and it's ready to go. We're going to deploy it next week for the fair.
Will that be its first official use?
It'll be its first official deployment. So we'll be over with the sheriff. So, and entertaining questions if anybody has any.
Commissioners, first one to go through it, county commissioner?
Yes, yep. Requirement.
Board president and county commissioner.
How's call volume on 4th of July?
Chief, do you know?
I haven't run the numbers, shaped like
I
that.
know we did staff, to my recollection, we didn't have anything that was out of the ordinary. But we did have staff, and I don't believe we had any fires.
The next day, are you saying it's 4th of July, day after, we had some fireworks, fire related incidents. So more so the day after, I think.
Thank you. Any reports, sir?
Thank you. That takes us to item B, which is correspondence. Any board members got any correspondence from community members or otherwise? Now would be the time to share. Hearing none, I'll move to informational items. Item 1 is the passing of volunteer captain Bob Whitrock. no Bob, but if Chief or anybody else wanted to expand on the service or volunteer president, Goodman wanted to talk.
That service was a very quick service. We were not asked, so it's not that we didn't do anything, it's just we weren't asked, it wasn't needed. Captain Whitrock was the captain when I was here in '94, you probably, Vice President Smith, owned his Whitrock trucking. And was a very active volunteer in my tenure in '94, '98. So unfortunately, he passed just a couple of weeks before Captain Rick Olson.
And item 2 is passing volunteer Captain Rick Olson, who was also a mayor, county commissioner, planning commissioner, airport commissioner, budget committee member, audit committee member for the city. Among many other things, he responded from Oregon Mutual, the Oregon Mutual group of guys for a number of years. Very passionate about the city and very passionate about the fire district. He is actually one of the architects of consolidation, along with Mayor Scott Hill, about a decade ago, and got the ball moving on that initial consolidation effort. So sad to see him go, but he had a battle with cancer, and I appreciate all the work that staff did on getting him there and showing up and so everything that went into that. I know you guys are already at capacity, so, or more than capacity, so putting something else on your plate on short notice was not asked of lightly, but I know it was appreciated. And if anybody else wanted to share anything, I know there's a number of us that were at that service or potentially volunteered with Rick. All right, hearing none, our next meeting will be Thursday, August 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. or 1800. July 25th, 2024, McMinnville Fire District meeting at 19:08 p.m. Thank you all.